Well, hello there. This is Louis, aka Louis the French Monette, and you are listening to Northern Consultations on Schmoes of the North. Dave, how you doing, man?
I am doing great, and this is a very special episode of Northern Consultations for me because I am sitting here with not only Lou, my third favorite member of Schmoes of the North, but James Shimo, upcoming rookie in the 2021 draft, former Inner Geekdom commissioner at Jack of All Trivia, question writer extraordinaire, and someone who I consider a friend. James, how are you doing, my man?
I am doing absolutely great. It's excellent to be here. First time on the show. Hopefully it won't be my last. Depends on what the ratings do, I guess. But no, I'm just absolutely tickled to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. It's, like I said, great to finally get a chance to talk Schmodown and, all the stuff that I've been aching to, talk to people about for the longest time. But I've just been so disconnected with everything going on in personal life because, let's face it, you can't really ignore that anymore.
Now, I am curious, again, everything that connects us is Schmodown. How did you discover Schmodown? What was your first taste?
So my first taste of the Schmodown, I was a big fan of AMC Movie Talk at the time, which of course then transitioned into Collider and then kind of it spun off into SEN Live and all this other kind of stuff now. But yeah, my very first match was all the way back in season 3, when it was the very first, I believe it was the very first match of season 3, which was John Campia versus Dan Murrell.
Yeah,
so that was how I got introduced to it. And then obviously as the Schmodown network has expanded and everything, they have the playlist up. Obviously, the early days when they were at AfterBuzz TV, I think was where they were, the studio they were working out of. So I started going back and watching those, and I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah. And as I mentioned when I was listing off your accolades and stuff, you also got involved in the fan league or other league trivia side, even so far to writing questions and running divisions. How did that come about?
Well, yeah, I had gotten in contact with the guys over at Jack of All Trivia, Haven Pendergast, who's a great guy, hung out with him a lot. He's a really cool dude, and all the other guys over there. And just over time, at the time, I believe Caleb Hansen, aka Mashed Potatoes, as we call him, was the one kind of running IG and things of that nature at the time. And I think he was getting a little kind of burnt out on things. He really wanted to focus more on like his personal life, his music. He had a lot of other things going on. So I said, well, as much as I'd love to, compete in IG because that's my bread and butter, I'd be down to host. I've got no problem with that. And that's kind of how that came about, was kind of alleviating the pressures of everyday life for a fellow nerd. So, I mean, I just saw it as something that, I could help a guy out, get a foot in the door here, compete in some of the other leagues for a while. I have done at least one Inner Geekdom match there, which I did fairly well with, when Mashed Potatoes wanted to go ahead and write his own stuff. But yeah, other than that, up until about March or April of last year, I was doing that. And then, of course, the whole, global situation changed and I had to step away to focus on my own personal stuff. But for the time that I spent there writing those questions, it was one of the more fulfilling times of my life, I will say. And it actually did a great deal in helping me to study up and really, solidify my IG knowledge.
Now, why go professional? Why dedicate yourself to a level that is, beyond a lot of people's understanding? Why go to that level? And why not just, have fun with it, but not become pro?
I mean, I can see a lot of people's, viewpoint on that. It's like, if it's, lower pressure, just having fun, making a hobby, this, that, and the other. And yeah, I can completely get that. For me, I'm never about settling. I'm never about just being happy where you're at. If you can take what you love to do, which for me is watching movies and answering trivia and having these kind of discussions about them, then do it big. Like, go as far with it as you possibly can. So, I mean, I'm sure a lot of us in the families have always thought about, like, what would we do if we ever got the opportunity to be in the movie trivia Schmodown? And now that opportunity is laid out, not just for a select group of people, but everybody, like across the entire internet. And I was just like, this is my shot. I've got to take it. I mean, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And like, if I see an opportunity, I go after it like a dog gnawing on a bone, and I do not let up until I make the most of that opportunity, whether or not that means getting to the actual point that I want to get to or just going as far as I can in the process. I never quit. That's just the way I am.
Yeah, and if you're never going to quit, what are your ambitions if you were to be drafted? What do you want to accomplish?
If I were to be drafted, number one thing on top of my list, Inner Geekdom champion. I mean, let's face it. Like I said, Dave, you and I both know IG is where I live. It's been the longest. I mean, I'm wearing a Baby Yoda shirt for crying out loud. Like Star Wars, the MCU, all of those things have been such an integral part of my life that I couldn't see myself not competing in that division. Same thing with the Star Wars League. As great of a champion as Alex Damon is, like the ultimate goal, of course, is that belt. And a matter of fact, if I had it my way, if I had it in an absolutely perfect world, you'd see me wearing each of those belts on each shoulder. I would be the first competitor in all of Schmodown history to hold the Star Wars and IG belts simultaneously. That would be the ultimate, like absolutely no holds barred.
And now we know your goals. We know what you want to do. We all know now. Well, we're starting to know now that managers are watching this show. So this is where you tell them your top 3 things they should know about you, because they all have criteria to check out, right? What do you bring to them?
Okay, what I bring. Number one, personality. I don't think there's a number of great personalities in the Schmodown, but when you look at the King of Hearts, you get poise, you get a gravity to him, to a presence that just can't be duplicated. I mean, I know I'm sounding like I'm overhyping myself, but I have spent years as learning acting and being a performer. So I have a stage presence. I know how to carry myself in front of a crowd. I don't get scared when the lights are on bright. I don't blink. I'm not a deer. I don't freeze up. That's not what I do. I know how to work under pressure. If you want to talk about pressure either creates diamonds or forces you to crack, you're looking at the biggest 24-karat diamond you have ever seen in your life. Number 2, I bring knowledge. I am a very, very studied competitor, and I don't stop. When I find out that there's been new categories added to IG, I start studying. I have a Google Doc where I have literally gone through Star Wars and IG movies frame by frame, pausing, looking up different information, making sure that I am up at the top of my game, making flashcards to study my downtime at work. I do not quit. I am tenacious. I am the biggest pit bull you will ever see in this competition. I am tenacious and I do not quit. Number 3, the one biggest thing I think I bring to the Schmodown outside of any of that is just overall just a level of swagger that you just cannot top. I mean, to call yourself the king of hearts, to say that all others will bend the knee and repeat after me, hail to the king. I mean, you've got to have a supreme level of confidence that never fades. So I'm a competitor that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that fans will gravitate to, that they will want to see, and they will get behind. Whether I'm being the nicest guy on the planet or an absolute dick, it doesn't matter, because they will not be able to take their eyes off of the king. That's just the way it is.
Now, I got to ask James, we're hearing a lot of great things, you're a pit bull, you're going to get in there, you're going to scrap. But this is no longer solely an individual game. How do you see yourself fitting in as a member of a faction?
And that's a great question. I mean, obviously for the majority of what I've done in terms of fan leagues, it has very much been a solo mission, but I have not been exclusive to just being a solo act. As you know, as one half of the NWO, myself and my partner Haven Pendergast, we were the team champs in Jack Ball Trivia for a good little bit there. So I believe that when it comes to working with a faction, I can gel with just about anybody. Yeah, can my cockiness grate on some people from time to time? Sure. But I mean, when you're that confident in your abilities, you're bound to rub some people the wrong way. But I never let it stand in the way of who I am at my core. And what I am at my core is a man who enjoys camaraderie, who will find that common ground with whoever he needs to work with. We may begrudgingly not like each other, but we will work together for the betterment of the entire group. That is what I am able to do. I am able, as big as an ego as I have, I can check that at the door when I need to for the greater good of what is at stake, whether it's a team title, whether it's faction points, whether it's whatever. It doesn't matter. I know when it's time to put the personal and the everyday aside and focus on the task at hand.
Now, and this is not a trap question. Both are important in the Schmodown, right? So there is no good or bad answer. But what is more important to you, the entertainment side or winning? Because you got a real rejects, you got the founding fathers. It is both essential. But what is your main thing?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. We've had plenty of competitors come and go in the Schmodown, whether it's, the real rejects, whether it's late to the party, whether it's the wild berries who are great at putting on a show. But when it comes to actually putting up or shutting up, they tend to quiet down just a little too much, kind of like Britney Spears' dietitian at the freaking Old Country Buffet.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't serve them well. So I will be as big and loud and confident and showboatish as I want, but the difference is I know how to back it up. So obviously, tip top of my list is winning, getting those faction points, getting those wins, moving forward in tournaments, whatever I have to do in order to get to, once again, the ultimate goal, which is that belt.
Lou, how does Britney Spears keep coming up in these rookie spotlights? Honestly, this is the third one.
I will get you that answer. What year were you born, sir?
I was born in 1989.
That's why.
Okay, that's why.
We all had a crush on her when we were growing up. That's why it keeps going up. All right, so let's say Christian has he's like, hey, the King of Hearts, I like him. He can do whatever he wants. If he gives you carte blanche, like we say in French, right? Mm-hmm. To be heel, tweener, or face. What are you going with?
I definitely... Here's the thing, and I can play each role no matter what you give me. You give me an idea of where you want me to go, I'm fine. You give me carte blanche, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably going heel. Just because I know how to talk, I can back up anything that I say. Yeah, will I come off annoying, but that's the point. And that's the thing, is there is no denying that I've come up with some sick burns for a lot of Schmodown competitors and just talking back and forth with a lot of other people. If you care for case in point, I once said Tom Dagnino was a prom night dumpster baby who decided he could manage teams in the Schmodown. There's a ton of different things that I've said. And again, I say that, and yeah, me that rubs some people the wrong way. But of course, anything that I say, they all know it's not meant to be taken personally. It's all for the love of the game and the show.
You understand, like it's almost like wrestling. You understand there's personas. You go after someone, but it doesn't mean you hate that person. Just it's your job, right?
Absolutely. Like if in my perfect world, I would be the MJF of the Schmodown. Just an absolute dick.
No clue that is.
Look him up. Like I went back this past January. I was on the a year ago now. I was on the Chris Jericho cruise that they had back then, and MJF was one of the guys who was on it. He is one of the few heels to this day who lives the gimmick no matter what. He's out in public. He is insulting people. He acts like he doesn't want to be there. He is an absolute jackass. There was one guy literally who got up to get a picture with him. Guy got a little too big for his britches, flipped him the bird right to his face. MJF spit his gum on him. Yeah. Like I said.
Damn. All right.
James, you are an incredibly big presence just in the little time that we've had you here so far. But I ought to ask, are you able to take a back seat if, for instance, you were drafted but weren't being given the spotlight in your faction? Would you be able to be a coach in the locker room, or would you be is that something you'd be able to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I am nothing if not a team player. Like I am not selfish in that way. Yes, to an extent, again, growing up in theater, doing, being a part of this business and things like that. Do you tend to want to grab the spotlight more than anybody else? Yes, because that's what you're taught to do. Go out there, put your best foot forward, let them know exactly what you can do. Make yourself the one they can't stop talking about, the one that's constantly coming up in conversation to where you're the one who gets the job. Absolutely. However, I also know a little bit, being a father, what it means to encourage somebody who needs it. I know how to take myself out of the equation for the time being for somebody else's benefit. Whether it's my son or either my 2 daughters, it doesn't matter, because I know at the end of the day, right now, whatever's going on with them, what's going on with me is not important. They need my help. They need my encouragement. They need my 100% all in getting them where they need to be. So absolutely, I can absolutely take that step back if need be. Now, obviously, with the level of personality I bring, obviously I hope to be brought more to the forefront. And again, that will come with time. But for the time being, at first, if it's, get the established guys in first, let the rookies kind of, watch and learn kind of thing, I've got no issue with that.
Now, if you could, and we're excluding 3 choices, they're too obvious, right? So no Harloff, no Dan Murrow, and no Bateman. If you could sit down for a whole day and have a master class on Schmodown and pick the brain of someone of Schmodown, who would it be?
Oh, easy. The outlaw John Roca.
Mm.
Yeah, I followed his career from that very first match I saw with him against Scott Mance. The guy has a level of swagger and a level of just intelligence and knowledge of how to play the game that I would say is second to none, especially except to maybe Dan Murrow. So.
And called this guy an idiot live on cam.
He did call me an idiot on camera. That's still a great.
Well, I mean, hey, at least you got the rub somehow, But
yeah.
no, I mean, I have nothing but respect for John Roca. Again, depending on fingers crossed, perfect scenario, I do get drafted. Whatever team I'm on, if he's on opposite, sure, I'll talk my level of shit. But it doesn't come without an absolute multitude of respect for what he has accomplished in this game and what he will continue to accomplish in this game as he moves forward.
Now, back to you. We've talked a lot about others, how you relate to others, but let's get down to brass tacks. With your experience writing questions for other leagues, how do you think that'll influence your ability to compete in the Schmodown?
Well, it'll influence it in a couple ways because, like I said, writing questions and looking up those deeper cut answers have been some of the best studying that I've ever done. I remember one particular 5-pointer that I asked in round 3. What is the name of the demon who constantly resurrects and splits into multiple copies of himself in the original Hellboy movie? And almost everybody was stumped by that one. So I'm going to say I can put that to you guys, see if you recognize the name there. But yeah, I'm not going to put you guys on the spot. That's not what I'm here to do.
I would be a manager. I suck at trivia, okay?
I'm retired from Inner Geekdom.
It's all good. But yeah, like that's the level of questions and the level of like deep cut stuff that I was coming up with that a lot of the guys are like, man, yeah, that's a true 5-pointer. So in a way, I feel like it would help, especially in terms of like studying and really finding those nooks and crannies that are seldom explored when it comes to the Inner Geekdom in the Star Wars category. On the other side of things, I see it causing a handful of issues because anytime I write a question, I am and this comes from being an English teacher, I am very particular in how I word them to try to make them as, just as easy, as straightforward as possible, not confusing in the least. And I know, especially when it comes to the wording of the questions in certain matches and things like that, there have been a lot of challenges thrown out in that situation. So I know that can make me a giant pain in the ass of the host when it comes down to, it's like, hold on, the way you worded that makes it sound this way. So basically playing the grammar police when it comes to the question writers, I know will probably get on a lot of people's nerves. But so like it's a double-edged sword, and I know that I know that's going to be a big issue going in, and I will do my best to rein it in as best I can. But if I feel like it's going to cost me or anybody that I'm playing with or my team points, then yeah, I'm going to speak up.
Now, before we go into promo mode, I have one last question. If you would have a match tomorrow, right? Harloff is like, hey, we're having an impromptu match. You're going on. Would you rate yourself, or what would you rate yourself? A D-lister, C-lister, B-lister, A-lister in Inner Geekdom? What do you categorize yourself as?
Well, here's the thing. Inner Geekdom is constantly expanding. So that's not just limited to, the Marvel, the DC, the Lord of the Rings, the Harry Potter, all of that stuff. It's the definition of Inner Geekdom is constantly evolving. So I know there's going to be a constant amount of things constantly getting added. And just every single day, there's going to be new categories, new questions coming up that you just hit you completely out of left field because you're not prepared for it. So with that being said, I would probably put myself, I would say, at a B tier. I'm not tippity top of the heap yet, but I definitely know my stuff. And again, if there's something I don't know, I endeavor to find it out.
So you're willing to put in that work to get yourself from B tier to A tier.
Oh, 110%. Like there's no mistake about it. You don't get anything in this game without putting what you want into it, what you want to get out of it. So if you want to be the best, you've got to put in 110% effort, whether it comes to studying, when it comes to, promo skills, when it comes to character, when it comes to any of that. And I do not slouch when it comes to any of that. I know how to talk. I know how to hold myself. And I know my knowledge is second to none when it comes to inner geekdom. Again, am I putting myself over maybe a little too much there? Possibly. But I also know what I am capable of, and I know how to address those areas of weaknesses where they exist.
Now, you said you're good at talking. Is your chance to show off a bit. We asked you to prepare a promo to self-promote yourself. And if you want to go after one of the rookies, you can go and do that as well. So up to you, King Hearts.
Well, I appreciate that. And yes, there is no doubt about it that the King of Hearts is coming to Inner Geekdom to sit that throne with no questions or pretenders left. And you can take a look at any of the other rookies, or as I like to call them, runners-up. It doesn't matter. You can keep them down in the minor leagues, because the one shining star that you want to focus on, if you really want to bring that Inner Geekdom belt, if you really want to bring that Star Wars belt to your faction, the King of Hearts is the man to do it. I have studied. I have trained. There is nobody who has prepared himself better to dance when the lights are on bright like the King of Hearts, James Shimo. And it doesn't matter whether it's Andres Cabrera. It doesn't matter if it's Adam Plavik, if it's Emily Rose Jacobson. It does not matter. Every single person who steps in my way will be made to do the exact same thing. Bend the knee and repeat after me. Hail to the King, baby.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hearts. All right. So before we start doing the you scared Dave. Don't scare Dave. Dave, it's okay. You want a hug? You want a hug, Dave?
No, Lou. Socially distanced.
But I love hugs. All right. All right. So before we go into the typical question we ask every episode, me and Dave wanted to give our impressions. This is the first time I get exposed to you. So our impressions of where we think you should land on. Okay. Dave, go ahead and give your prediction.
I've said this for years. James Shimo could be one of the greatest Inner Geekdom players the Schmodown has ever seen, given the opportunity. And I think he would flourish nowhere better than with Kaiser in the dungeon. I think him and Robert Parker could study together very well with Smets as a coach. That's exactly where I see him falling if he is so lucky.
All right. And before I give my choice, could you give me 3 numbers between 1 to 20?
Okay. 4.
Sexy numbers. Sexy numbers.
Okay.
Sexy numbers. The rock stars, or the stars, I should say, is my choice for you. Something about Roxy and her pure dedication, but you kind of have the same edge as her, right? She is focused in. She can be very mean, but very sweet at the same time, if that makes sense. And I find is a beautiful thing that would really pair up with you. And she is faithful to a fault. And so I really do see you as a star.
Now, that being said, I think to all the managers listening right now, James Shimo will be an asset to your faction.
Mm-hmm. All right. So look, now this is a question we ask every person that comes to the show. And if aliens will come on Earth and wipe out all movies, but they're nice enough to say, hey, we're giving you a week at least pre-notice, right? What is the last 3 movies you would watch as a final goodbye?
Got to be the original Star Wars trilogy. That's what got me into.
That counts as 1.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the original Star Wars trilogy, because that's what got me into movies in the first place. My earliest memories are sitting on the floor in my living room with my dad in his recliner, just watching A New Hope for the first time, and it captivated me from the get-go. Outside of that, just for guilty pleasure's sake, I would probably say The Room, just because that thing's got a soft spot in my heart. I mean, whether it's The Room itself or The Disaster Artist, just the train wreck that was that movie is just absolutely fantastic. And then let's see, because I've gone with the standard, sci-fi stuff. I've gone with the comedy. I think I'm going to go a little out there. I'm going to go with a horror movie in this case, and I think I'd have to go with, as much as the original author hates it, I got to go with Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Mm-hmm. So, good choice.
So those are the ones I'm sticking with.
Wait a minute. Are we live?
No.
Why is there one viewer? Anyways, the weirdness of internet. All right, so thank you very much. I think you are the first person that actually says The Shining, which is surprising if you think about it.
I mean, it's a classic. I mean, I've actually went and saw it a while back, right before Dr. Sleep came out. They were doing like a $5 thing at the movie theater. I went and saw it in theaters again for the first time in theaters, but I saw it again, obviously. And just hearing that score and watching that cinematography just on that big screen is just absolute chef's kiss.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Hart, for being on the show. Look, you don't need it, but we're going to wish you some luck. I can't wait to have your butt back to the show once you get drafted, my man.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. So, by the way, if you have people who want to follow you, they absolutely love what they see today, where can they follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, just at James Shimo. You can actually find me on, hang on, let me double check this here, because I always get the dang, I'm going to say my screen name confused on Twitter, so give me just a second here. I hardly ever look at it aside to follow the people that I need to follow. So you can find me on Twitter at Shimo James, and you can find me on Instagram also at James E. Shimo.
All right. And Dave, we're going to find you.
Well, obviously, Lou, you can find me right here at Schmoes of the North on YouTube. Like, subscribe. We have episodes like this all the time. And once matches start back up, we will have more match breakdowns. Also, if you head over to Jack of All Trivia, you might see me hosting some matches in the near future. But don't forget, you don't need to follow my Twitter handle because it's a bad follow.
And you can find me obviously on here too, Norn Schmoes on Twitter, but I'm also on other shows. I am on Speaking of Schmodown with my man, Mr. Jay Wade, where we have a sports talk and we argue a lot about Schmodown every Saturday at 2:30 Eastern. And also, I am appearing tomorrow on The Frenchie Talks About. I have the amazingly gorgeous and smart Amanda Savine, who is an amazing journey of being anorexic to fitness model in almost a span of 4 years. She has an amazing story, and do not miss it out. So that's tomorrow, live 10 a.m. Eastern. All right, boys. Now
this comes out on Monday. Your thing's on Saturday. It already happened. Anyway, from all of us here at Schmoes of the North,
my brain stopped working.
From all of us here at Schmoes of the North, have a great night.
Bye-bye.